Welcome to my first mixing tutorial, where today we're going to be mixing GGD's most difficult kit in my personal humble opinion. If you're new here, my name's Kyle. I have a weekly series that I upload called RQ Riffs. In the process of me transitioning back from Logic Pro to Reaper, I'm building a new template. And I figured that since I'm rebuilding this template probably for the fourth time within the past couple months, I could share my knowledge into what goes into mixing GGD's largest kit. I can't be the only one that felt this. I was a little bit disappointed. I paid 119 bucks for it, and it sounded like this. And that was one of the presets. And there's a bunch of other presets in there, but none of them really felt like they were processed at all. It was just different pieces of the kit that each person had dictated was their favorite, and they all threw it together and made a preset. And as a guitarist, I don't want to spend near as much time mixing drums as I do writing riffs for the song. And right now there's only about 5 or 6 YouTube tutorials out there for this kit, and some of them use samples. I won't be doing that. We're going to be using everything inside the kit, so you won't need to download any outside samples. What is this hair right here floating around? The 3 main plugins that we're going to be using are RIA EQ, which is Reaper's stock EQ, Smash and Grab by GGD, and the Virtual Mix Rack by Slate Digital. All 3 of those pretty much just make up the entirety of this drum mix. At the end of this video, after everything's routed and mixed, it's going to sound like this. And if you guys use Reaper in all 3 of those plugins already, then I'm assuming you probably have a better mix than me, but if you want to skip this video and save some time, I'm going to leave a Google Drive link in the description below, and you guys will be able to just download this Reaper session, and everything will be preloaded for you, and you can just use it as is. Anyways, let's get started. And what we're going to get started with first is routing. And I know what you're thinking, right? Routing is boring. No one wants to do it. But I learned this from a YouTube video from actually some other Russian guy. I have no idea who he is. He's just a YouTuber that uploaded an anonymous video for routing. Okay, so let's get started with the routing portion. Double click. Open up Contact 8, make sure it's 64 out so we have some routing to work with. If you choose a stereo instance, it's not going to work. We're going to open up Invasion here, and then after this, we're going to right click and scroll down to Build Multi-Channel Routing for output of selected FX. Click on that. It's going to give you 64 tracks. You're not going to use all of them, but we're going to use a strong portion. I believe we're going to use about 28 of them. I'm just going to drag over the MIDI that I have so we have something to work with here. All right, so we're going to pull up GGD real quick. We're going to open up Classic View, get rid of the side pane. So now we're going to make our buses. I'm going to have Contact here open with GGD on the right, and on the left, we're going to click on Tracks. This one's going to be Kick Sum. So pretty much we're just going to be looking at GGD and copying the first 3 here. So Kick Sum is 1, Sub Kick is 2, Kick Trigger is 3. We're going to label that over here on the left as well. So Kick Sum, Sub Kick, Kick Trigger. Now we're going to open up a new track. We're going to pretty much right click on your initial instance of Invasion. Right click here, insert new track, take all 3, the trigger, the kick, and the sum, drag them underneath, and now you have a bus for all 3 of these. We're going to name this just kick. The overheads for the kick, room close, room far are 16, 17, 18. It seems random. Trust me, it's going to work. Move on to the snare. The snare top is 4, snare bottom is 5, snare trigger is 6. And again, the overheads are going to be 16, 17, and 18. Just like they were for the kick. And then come over here to the left, click on snare top, insert new track, actually drag that above snare top, take the trigger, bottom, and top, and drag them into the bus, and just call it snare. All right, moving on to the toms here. This is where it kind of varies a little bit from other tutorials that I've watched. I'm going to separate every single tom, and I've found that this is where I get the most definition. The compressor's not having to work against multiple toms playing at once. If all of these tracks are separated from each other, you can have separate processing, and your tom compressor is not going to get overloaded. So what we're going to do is we're going to separate every single tom and put them on separate tracks. And these toms are going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the overheads, just like for the kick and for the snare, are going to be 16, 17, and 18. Cool. Just like before, we're going to be naming all of these toms. Rack tom 1, rack tom 2, rack tom 3, floor tom 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to click right above the snare trigger, create a new track, take all of the toms, drag them in. Trust me, I know this is dry. It's going to help you so much when you're processing. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the cymbals. I've grouped the hats and the X hats together. So these are going to be 13. Both are going to be 13. The ride is going to be 14. FX and cymbals are going to be 15. Overhead 16. Room close 17. Room far 18. And now everything is correctly routed in GGD. So we're going to come over here. This like KT out 13 track is going to be hats. Next one's going to be ride. Next one's cymbal effects. Next one is overheads, so just OH. And now we're going to create the bus for the rooms because we're going to process the rooms together as one. So this one right here, room close, and below that is room far. Now we're going to create a bus for that, enter new track like we have been doing, drag them up into this track to create the bus, and now we're going to create room bus. Awesome. We're going to leave 19 there because that's going to be our parallel compression. So everything 20 and down, or 20 and up, however you want to look at it, can be deleted. Delete 13 tracks. Name KT out 19 parallel comp. Just so that this is not such an eyesore for all of us, we're gonna just throw in a bunch of colors to make these nice. I downloaded a nice theme for Reaper, and I love the new colors that it has. So before we go anywhere, we're going to create a new track here at the top. Underneath Invasion, we're going to call this drum bus because everything that we have is going to be inside of this bus, and we're going to process it as one. Let's take the kick, scroll all the way down, select everything, drag up into this drum bus, and now we're going to be processing everything inside of this drum bus, but that will be for later. Okay, we've gotten all of the routing done. Now we can finally move into the meat and potatoes of what you're here to see. There's going to be a lot of virtual mix rack, REA EQ, and smash and grab on all of these tracks. So I'm not going to try and recreate all of the moves that I did. I like it where it is now, and I've saved a template for it. So I'm going to go back to what I had before, all these more beautiful colors that I have here for my bus, and I'm just going to show you guys everything that I've done. And there is a lot to go through here. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible. But let us start off here with the kick. I'm going to turn off everything that I have here for the bus and for all the tracks for the kick. What I forgot to mention is that you guys should go back and look at what I've done in regards to the levels for the kick, snare, toms, and cymbals, because this is really important to what we're going to be doing here in the DAW. Take a quick look. Like I said, there's going to be a template in the description. So if you guys want to skip this step and not do any of this whatsoever, you can just click on that and download it. The kick, without any processing, actually sounds really good. For most metal kicks, I like to have them scooped. Interestingly enough, what I found in this kit is that there's a lot of 5K, even on the master bus. So starting off with the kick, we have the Tama Star Classic Maple 22x16. And for the processing, we're just gonna have a REA EQ. I suppose I can make this a bit bigger. I'm used to mixing with REA EQ so small. Having anything larger like this is just weird to me. I dipped about 4 decibels at 300, -5 at 600, and a lot at 4K, and then I boosted back up. We have smash and grab, which you're gonna see here a lot. I have the threshold set at -24. Turn up the beef here by about 1.5 at 80 hertz, and then the ratio is 3:1. I found that, if you scroll to kick, snare, toms, room, overhead, parallel, this doesn't change. Your ratio here doesn't change. Same with Invasion too. The presets actually don't. The turbo function in Invasion actually doesn't really do much at all that I found. So I feel like that's why this kit is so hard to mix initially, and that's why my EQ and compression have just been so heavy-handed. The mix is set here at 100%. I use a lot of the Event Horizon limiter, which is just a stock limiter / clipper inside a Reaper. It gets the job done, and you get to visually see the levels here on each side. I have this on every single track because I want to stop any digital clipping that's going to be happening anywhere in the DAW, and it works like a charm. And we're going to move over here to the kick sub. I used to put a lot of kick sub into all my mixes, but I've learned to kind of tone that down. I've done actually no processing to the kick sub. And the kick trigger is going to be Hulk Smash. And the processing I've done here is actually some EQ. Which is funny, I didn't really think I was going to be needing to EQ the samples they provide, but here we are. Without it, it just had too much high end in my opinion. And now on the kick bus, we actually have 2 EQs. Good Lord. Like I said, I am heavy-handed on the EQs for this entire mix. One scooping out 7 decibels at 200 hertz, and then the second EQ here, I had a bunch of low end, scooped out 500. The low end was about 130. It was a pretty wide band at 3.6, and then a clipper, which brings it down a lot in volume because right now it's pretty much blasting. But everything combined sounds incredible. I think that kick is perfect. All right, moving on to the snare. The snare trigger is really doing most of the work here. So starting off with the snare top, we have a REA EQ, boosting at 200 hertz, scooping at 800, boosting again at 3000, and then boosting again at 7000. And it's funny, you can actually look here at the preset that I chose. I love the stock REA EQ snare preset for almost any snare. It's incredible how good it sounds. This is actually very similar to what already is in that preset. Watch this. I'll choose the Rock Band snare again, and look, it's almost exactly the same. All right, so next in the chain is Virtual Mix Track, FG Stress, a revival, and a trimmer here. Input set for FG Stress is around 6.5. We have the attack at 5, release at 5, output at about 4.5. The ratio is 6. But what's most important about this is that the mix is only at 50% here. Because if you have 100%, it's just going to crush it. And in the mix, that's just, you can't hear the transient in there. And you really want to hear the transient because there's so much room, which we're going to get to here in a bit. And over here on the revival, we have around 9.5, 10 on the shimmer setting. And we have about 8.5 on the thickness. And the trimmer over here is just to cut off any excess volume that we have. It's set at negative 1.69. Very nice. Moving over here to smash and grab. I double stacked compressors. So we have FG stress coupled with smash and grab at a 2-to-1 ratio, a little bit of saturation, 16% and 100% on the mix. And of course, at the end of every signal chain, we have a limiter and clipper, which is going to be set at -1. The snare bottom consists of a rear EQ, cutting out some low end here at 112, adding a little bit back in at 1.6, pull up smash and grab. This one's not really doing too much. I'm just pulling it down to -27 on the threshold, adding a little bit of saturation. Honestly, you can get away with not having too much snare bottom. It's not actually doing too much in the mix. I feel like snare bottom is almost pointless, but I keep it in there just because. Snare trigger is going to have smash and grab. I don't know. Damn, I am smashing the hell out of this. -32 on the threshold. No saturation or anything else, but I did turn it down at -3 in volume. I guess I really hated the snare trigger and the way this sounded. It sounds a little dull, a little lifeless. So I have a high pass here at 75 and this really ringy noise here at 311. That had to go. And then after that, on the snare trigger, we have virtual mix rack. I did a lot of processing on the snare trigger. I just felt like it wasn't that good. I felt like the stock sample didn't hit as hard as it needed to be hitting. So I added FG stress, pretty much just like I did for the snare top. FG stress, revival, and trimmer. -4.8 on the trimmer. And all that combined, it really makes it shimmer and shine. Revival does so much work here, does a lot of the heavy lifting for the snare trigger, and all of that combined, and we're not done yet, all that combined to the snare the snare bus, which again has another rear EQ with a low shelf, cutting out 4.3, cutting out 7.2, and adding a bunch of high end back in. This is important. This is important. Without it, it sounds like this. See, we're almost there, right? We add it all back in, the virtual mix rack, the rear EQ, and the limiter at the end. One second here, my cat wants out of the studio. Moving on to the toms. This is going to be really easy, all right? You have 3 things, right? You have rear EQ, you have smash and grab, and you have the limiter. We're going to take all of this, we're going to copy and paste it to every single tom track. So all you have to do is drag the effects down, drag it, and boom. You have the same effects for every single track. It's not going to be exactly the way you want it for every single tom, so you're going to want to do a little bit of adjusting, but for the most part, it gets you 90% of the way there. So the rear EQ is first. You have a bump at 50. Like I said, look at the preset here. I chose stock basic 11 band toms. It just works. You add a little bit at 50, scoop a little bit at 400, add some attack at 5,000. So next is going to be smash and grab, -20 on the threshold. I believe that's all I did. Yep. Okay, cool. The tom is not even on the tom preset. See, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you select on the drum type. I had the snare selected on the toms and it just works. And then after that, of course, is going to be a limiter and clipper again, and -2 on the ceiling, and that's it. On the bus, -2. That's all it takes. So now we're going to move on to the hats, rides, and cymbals and rooms, and eventually the parallel, of course. So from what I've noticed here, the hats are not the most, it's not the most important track in the world, but it does provide some stereo width. So you're still going to want to process it. We have rear EQ, smash and grab, and the limiter here. We're just cutting out some of the low end here with the high pass up to 187. Then we have a dip at 1.3 to get rid of some of that honk in the cymbals. And then we have another dip here at 10,000, technically 10,500. Smash and grab, this is where you change to the smash setting. Instead of grabbing the transients, you're going to want to smash the transients. This is going to be -24 on the threshold, and that is all. So before it sounds like this. After, with smash and grab, the EQ and the clipper sounds like this. A little brighter, a little bit more compressed. Moving on to the ride here. I'm using a single ting. Awesome. Ooh, I broke my own rule. I don't have a limiter here on the ride, but we have rear EQ with a high pass, 153, scooping at 2.8, 4K, and 12.1. Without it, it sounds like this. And with it, next, we have smash and grab, which has -2.9. You'll want to put a limiter at the end of that too. Apparently I didn't. I don't know why. May have just skipped that step entirely. So the cymbal effects here, this is going to be both Chinas. You have a left China and a right China. One of them is really bright. The one on the left is incredibly bright, and the one on the right is not. I believe that's just due to the location of the spot mic that they had recording for this. Getting into the processing, we have EQ, huge high pass there, a little dip at 460, a little boost at 2.5, and a cut at 7.4. Without it, it sounds like this. With it, it sounds like this. Now we're going to move on to the overheads. Really stoked on the overheads because I have 3 EQs. 3. Just to make this work. I'm going to show you what this sounds like beforehand. like a jungle beat, like a Jungle Book beat. We're just gonna activate it one at a time as this plays, so I can show you the impact and importance of all these EQs. So we're gonna deactivate all of these. We're just gonna listen. So the first one is this, second one is this, third one. I just kept on finding frequencies that were just nutty. So it starts off sounding like this. All of those play a very important part in creating the sound for the overheads. So I'm just going to scroll through these really fast so you guys can get the gist of what I've done here. Feel free to pause at any time. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where it's like, you should only use 1 EQ per track. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to use 3 if I want to. Re-EQ takes almost no processing on my computer. It's really no big deal. No matter how I get there, as long as it's a good end result, it doesn't matter how you got there. Nobody cares. At the end, we have smash and grab at -13 on threshold, and then we have a limiter with -1 on the threshold and -2 on the ceiling. All right, now that we got through the overheads, we have the room bus. We're almost done here. We have the room close. All right, so we have a high pass here at 145, -5 decibels at 300, -5 decibels at 900, -3 decibels at 2.3. If we solo that out, this is the room close, and we turn it off. Turn it back on. Okay, so this is awesome. Because we removed all of these bands here, now the high end gets to shine, and you still have a controlled mid-range. So moving on to smash and grab, we have -26.2, and this, okay, so this is really important as well. We're adding 7.7 decibels on the output. The room close mic is incredibly quiet. At least I think that's how I set the level in Invasion. 7.7 decibels of gain. I don't know why I don't have a limiter there. Please add a limiter. Anyways, we have now the room far. We have the high pass here at 93 decibels. I am removing 7 decibels at 4.2, -3 at 8.4, and then we have a little bit of a shelf at 10,000, kind of bringing back some high end. So before and then after. Oh, I remember why I did that. So fun fact here, at least for this kit, the room close sucks for the snare. You don't want too much snare close. You want room far for your snare. You don't really want to add any of the room close. It's just not what that room is made for. On the room far, we have -12.4 on the threshold. We're adding some volume again at 5.6 on the output. Everything else here is stock. We have the limiter here with the ceiling set at -0.1, which is just preventing digital clipping as usual. And now we have the bus, which has an EQ. This EQ is actually really important. Let's hear what this room sounds like, because we're combining both of these rooms together. And it's really important to process these rooms together to get a stronger room sound. So this is before the EQ. And after. See what I mean about, okay, 4 and 5K in this kit is just disgusting. We have a high pass here at pretty much 300, a band of -5 at 400, and then -4 at 700. These specific values right here, 4.3 and 9.7, I mean, if I boost these, it's gonna hurt. It's a whistly frequency, and you really don't want that in there. Yeah, 9.7. Both of those are frequencies that you want to take care of. The limiter here at the end is -2.7 with a ceiling of 1.1. And now, arguably, we're on to the most important part of the kit. Let's listen to this without any parallel compression. And we can hear all of the work that we put in so far. It's a lot of work, right? We have the EQ, we have virtual mix rack, we have smash and grab, and it's a lot. It's doing a lot of processing, and it sounds really clean now, but it's missing punch. I'm sure you've heard about parallel compression a bunch of times in the YouTube audio engineering field, because this is where your impact comes from. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up this parallel track here, and we're going to hit it with a single instance of, I think I just used the drum bus parallel preset here, which is parallel nuke 2. If you just want to click on that, you have the input set at 6.5, attack at 5, release at 1, and output at 6.5, and the ratio is it just says nuke. That's all you need to know. Revival's doing nothing. Trimmer's really just holding it back from digital peaking, and it's doing all of the work for you. Don't forget, mix needs to be at around 50 to 55%, because if you use all 100%, it sounds like ass. Everything gets completely stomped. Just listen to this. If you dial it back, it's still completely smashed, but in a good way. And the volume I have for this parallel track is set to -6. So we're almost there. We're at the finish line, right? Now we go all the way up to the drum bus here that we've created at the start of the routing process. Click here, and the drum bus here is just going to add a little bit of low end. We're going to add a little bit of low end here at 65 hertz. We're going to take out a couple decibels at 4.6, 7,000, and add in some high end here, 2 decibels at 16,000, which is just kind of like a wide band here to give it more lift and high end. Without it, it sounds like this. And with it, that is such a huge difference there. That high end is really doing so much work. And those notches at 7,000 and 4,000 right there are really clamping down on those harsh frequencies. So then we have a singular instance of VBC FG Gray. Honestly, this is one of the few VSTs with Slate Digital that I can just choose a preset, adjust the threshold a little bit, and make it sound incredible. This is really to clamp down on absolutely everything. This is your final layer of compression. So the threshold is set at -7, ratio is at 4. Attack is set at 10, which is fairly slow for this type of compressor. 0 decibels of makeup gain, and 100% mix. And after that is your final, your final 1,000th limiter. At the very end of all of this, you gotta have that limiter there to what? That's right, stop your digital clipping. So all of this together is going to sound like this. And initially we started off with a piece of crap, right? A golden flaming turd. We've come a long way. That's a lot of processing. I hope your computer can handle it. I thought of a quick riff here just to go along with all this. You can kind of get a representation of what this sounds like in the mix. So we have a left and right guitar, some processing done, and a bass down the middle, of course. I love going back and listening to that initial no mix track because it provides a stark contrast with where you first started. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video, not episode of RQ Riffs. This video, this is my first mixing video like it. So if you guys want to see more, let me know in the comments. I would love to do more mixing videos. I know it's not the toppest, tieriest of all mixing videos, but I'm really passionate, and I only saw that there was a couple mixing tutorials on Invasion, and I know how daunting and difficult this kit could be. I spent months getting this mix to where it is. Since I'm switching back to Reaper, I figured, why not share it with the world, right? So I upload Wednesdays, every single Wednesday that is, at 11 a.m. And I would love to see you guys next time. So until next time, peace.